This is Frank Consella with the Crested Butte Center podcast, and my guest this week is Deadhead Ed. And as you might suspect, that means that we are going to talk about what it means to be a Deadhead, i.e. a big fan of the Grateful Dead. He saw a ton of shows back when the Grateful Dead was still touring, and he still shows off his tie-dye whenever he can. And he also has a show on KBUT, our local radio station, which generally features live recordings of the Grateful Dead. And we talk about more than that, though. We talk about some great early stories from the Irwin Lodge back when that was still operating. And he was a cook there, and he was living in a trailer through the winter with his kitties, just outside of that lodge, which just sounds crazy to think about these days. And we also talk about the Enduro at Arapahoe Basin. Deadhead Ed is the only person to have done all of them, and that race basically involves riding the Pallavicini chair and skiing back down as many times as you can in one day. So anyway, really enjoyed talking with Deadhead Ed, and let's just go ahead and hear the interview. Today on the Crested Butte Home podcast, my guest is Deadhead Ed. So tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from to start.
Well, I was originally from New England. Grew up in New Hampshire and Massachusetts. Went to college back there. Graduated. Some friends were moving to Colorado, and I'm the only one still here 35 years later.
What part of Colorado did you?
We initially moved to Breckenridge.
Okay.
And only spent a little bit of time in Breckenridge, with mostly in Silverthorne and the north side of Summit County.
Okay.
I was there for 11 years.
Gotcha. And how had you been to Summit County, or your friends had?
What I had heard, my friends from college were all coming out here, and what I had heard was I could get a season's pass to 4 ski areas: Breckenridge, Keystone, Copper Mountain, and A Basin, for $350.
Right. So
How could I not? And I didn't know. I'd never heard of Breckenridge. I didn't know about skiing in Colorado. I just knew I wanted to go.
There you go. Mm-hmm. There you go. And what, so obviously, well, I guess not obviously, but you grew up skiing then, I assume, or?
It's funny. Back when I'd wear a tie-dye over my jacket skiing, I'd sit on the back of the bus, and I'd warn people not to start their children skiing too early.
Uh-huh.
My parents started me at 5.
Okay.
And I said, if you start your kids too early, they might be a freak sitting in the back of the bus wearing a tie-dye when they're an adult. December 26th, 1967.
That was your first day?
I started skiing. The Franklin Veterans Memorial Ski Area in Crested Butte, in Franklin, New Hampshire.
Okay.
And it's still going today. It's a rope tow and a T-bar.
Just a rope tow and a T-bar. Perfect.
I would equate it maybe to our Peachtree chair and the terrain that services.
Or Craner Hill? Or is it probably not that big?
No, not even close to that big. It created the freak you all know as Deadhead Ed. Long time ago.
Fair enough. So you skied in Summit County, and there's an event that you're kind of well known for there, and you are apparently the only person to do all of the enduros at A Basin.
Yes.
First off, what is the event? Start there.
There's a run at A Basin called Turbo. It was named after a local skier who just shortly before I moved to Summit County was killed in an avalanche in Bakerville.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of the peak, but you can see
probably,
it when
probably
he's driving.
Torrey's or Kelso.
Mount Kelso. He had this vision, and this was back in 1984. He had this vision of how many laps could you do on the Pallavicini chair at A Basin? One chair, it services. We've determined we've come up with 20 different lines across the venue, and he wanted to know how many runs a person could do in a day.
Sure.
1998, his best friend. We call him Rodan. His name's Dan Johnson. And another guy, Rick Hewlett, who we called Juice. They were Juice and Rodan. They were inseparable skiers.
Okay.
I'm sure you have your ski partner.
Sure.
And they just were always skiing together. And one day in 1988, we're like, what are those guys doing? And they were trying to see how many runs they could do on the Pallavicini from 8:30 to 3:35, which was the time that the lift was open. The next year, they somehow talked the ski area into making it an event.
Okay.
And we did it for 12 hours, 7 to 7.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And my best time, my time that day was 67 runs in 12 hours.
Okay. And what's the vert? Is it like 2,000 or
1,351?
Okay, so it's
a little less than
it's not huge.
Our event that we had here for a few years, the 7 hours of the banana.
Uh-huh.
And it was a great day. I credit myself with learning how to ski that day. All I really had was a jump turn.
Uh-huh.
That was the only tool I had to fight the mountain. And I realized pretty early on I couldn't jump turn for 12 hours. And I learned to keep them on the ground, and I slid, and I turned, and I carved.
Big slarvy
turns. And basically it formed the style 30 years later that I have today. From that day.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And this was, so what did you say, 1989?
89.
So
88 was the year
that they
Juice and Rodin did it informally.
Okay.
And the next year they convinced the mountain manager, Jim Gentling,
to do it for real.
To do it as an event, and it's been going ever since.
And in 1989, you were what, on like a 210 GS ski? What were you riding
my favorite ski back then, for whatever reason, I didn't like GS skis. Mm-hmm. I liked the slalom skis, so I was on the Olin Comp SL.
Okay.
I'm sure you remember those. 205.
205, okay.
Sure. 208, because I'm a big feller. And yeah, I can't believe that's what we used to ski on. When I look back from today, you know, I'm 120 underfoot.
Right, exactly.
Not 60.
Right.
And it just amazes me what we were able to do back then.
Yeah.
And now it even amazes me more what people are able to do today.
Yeah.
On a pair of skis, because the sport has come so much further than I ever would have envisioned.
It has, for sure. So what, originally you were saying it was 12 hours. Is it still 12 hours? I thought
the next year, the mountain manager, Jim Gentling, he's got everyone, we have to be there at 6 o'clock for a little meeting, safety meeting, discuss the conditions.
Sure.
It's not a closed venue, so you got to watch out for the guests. And he said, who wants it to be 12 hours? And we all raised our hand, hoot and holler, yeah, 12. Well, it's going to be 10.
10?
And it's been 10 ever since.
But that's still more than ski areas normally open.
Yes, we do 7 to 5.
Okay, so an extra...
They open a little early. The money, it's $75 per person. It's teams of 2, so it's $150. And the money raised, it's 35 teams. So the money raised goes to pay for the lift ops to come in early, for everyone who's paid to come in early. And the rest goes to a needy local. There's also a silent auction and a party afterwards.
Just a single, local family? Or
exactly. If somebody had a tragedy in their life, or we lost somebody, or somebody was injured.
Someone gets sick,
Well, in my case, in 2007, the money went to me. Remember, I got sick in 2006 and spent 5 weeks in the hospital in Grand Junction. By unanimous vote of the board over there at A Basin, they voted to give me the money to help with my expenses that year. And
you still got to do the event too, because you've done everyone.
Yes, and it's kind of funny because the doctor said I wouldn't be skiing for a year, and it was probably 2 months after I got out of the hospital that old Josephine took me down international.
See how it goes.
Well, she tried to get me to ski the groomed part, and I couldn't. I had to just ski the bumps, and it was fun, and yeah. But I think I had adrenaline for a few months.
Sure.
Because shortly in the summer, I started to feel my energy taper down. Like, okay, the adrenaline's worn off. Now I just have to get my body back into shape.
Yeah. When you're skiing that long, do you get scared when you get tired and you start getting sloppy? Because I know I'd start making some ugly turns and having some.
Well, the one thing you say, ugly turns. The thing about that event is it's not about who skis the prettiest.
No, but
it's about who gets the smoothest using the least amount of energy.
Right.
So you turn less and you slide more.
Sure.
And for me, usually, my back starts to hurt, and I tend to hunch over a little more. I just slow down.
Okay. Yeah.
And this year was particularly hard.
Conditions-wise or
The
body-wise?
day, well,
Both.
I'm 57, so body-wise too, but mostly conditions. The day before was beautiful, 1.5 inches of corn on top of on a great surface, and then it froze overnight, and it was a blizzard all day.
But not enough snow to matter and make it
Not
soft.
enough to make it any better.
Right.
And it was pretty heinous. But they're all. If weather isn't a factor, something else is a factor. There's always a factor involved.
Sure.
With that event.
Let's move on past the enduro. How did you? So you were in Summit for a while. How did you end up?
84 to 95.
And how'd you make the move here to Crested Butte?
On May 1st, 1995, someone came in my house and decided they wanted all my stuff.
In
Summit County.
Is this Frisco, Brack? Where
it was actually Silverthorne.
Silverthorne.
It was
okay.
outside of the town.
Okay.
Someone came in, took almost everything I owned.
Wow.
My music collection, all my I call my play stuff, all my music, all my TV and all that stuff. They left my skis. They left my mountain bike. So I was actually pretty happy about that. And then 3 weeks later at a Dead show in Las Vegas, I ran into my old friend from college who I moved to Summit County with in 84, Bernie Walker, who was a chef at Irwin Lodge. He said, I need a sous chef. I said, I need a new place to go. Came down and interviewed, and June 13th of 95, came down for the interview. The trailhead was still the trailhead.
Okay, yeah, it was a big year that year.
Yeah, so we snowmobiled up there, came around the corner at the spillway, and I saw the lodge, and I said to myself, yep, I'm going to take this job. And we spent the night at the lodge, and it wasn't until June 29th that we were able to come back. Because they finally got the road plowed to the lake. And then still we had to get snow-catted. I lived in the movie cabin. Not the movie cabin you know today, that's for sure. And we had to be snow-catted up there, me and my 2 cats and all my stuff. And that's how it started. And then, the snow melted, and eventually the road opened, and summer at Irwin Lodge was in full swing.
Yeah, I mean, it was different back then. They used to do weddings, and it was open to the public.
Every weekend we'd have at least one, usually 2 weddings. Yeah, you'd have your people driving up just to have lunch. And
I remember. I remember on a mountain bike ride. I remember stopping there, and I got some fries and a Coke in the middle of a ride, and then finished up with the Dyke Trail and all that stuff.
That's perfect.
It was really cool. So how long did you live up there in the movie cabin in Irwin?
Well, I was only in the movie cabin for a couple months because Doug Lewis, who is the snow safety director, and our bartender at the Eldo, Jeffro, he was the assistant. They lived there.
Oh, okay.
In the wintertime. So I only had a couple of months, but I had a cab over camper.
Okay.
And I parked it behind the lodge. My cats weren't allowed in the lodge. That was the only rule.
Okay.
So I had the cab over camper. I ran a 250-foot Romex with a plug on one end and a plug on the other end from the garage over through the bushes and all the way over to my camper. So I had electricity, had electric heat and lights and
through stereo. The winter. You were
through the winter.
Wow.
Yeah, and it actually turned out it was the main snowcat road going up and down from the lodge, but my Romex was buried under 10 feet of snow at that point.
So it didn't matter.
And it didn't matter. And so from 6 a.m. to midnight, I had electricity.
Wow.
And it's like my own little world out there.
Oh, yeah, big time.
I couldn't take my room in the lodge because of my cats.
Right.
But I still could store stuff in there.
Sure.
I had a bathroom in there.
Right.
But then my bedroom
was
the camper.
With the kitties. Wow, I hadn't heard all these stories.
Yeah.
This is great stuff.
So when I would boot pack up there in the last few years, it was like a trip down memory lane. I go back, look, that's where my camper used to be, and that's where I parked my sled.
Right. Because you can boot pack at Irwin to get some free. Free cat.
I never got enough days in.
Yeah.
It was just fun days for me.
Well, I guess let's just. Do you have some good stories from living up there? I guess that you can think of off on the fly.
Well, the first one was, I didn't know anything about snowmobiling.
Uh-huh.
And on 4th of July, I don't know if you remember, 4th of July, 95, there was 6 inches of snow in town here.
Okay.
Which I'm sure freaked a lot of people out.
Uh-huh.
We had dozens and dozens and dozens of people snowmobiling up to the lodge that day. I had no idea. Apparently, it's a big deal to snowmobile on 4th of July in the Gunnison County.
Wow.
I had no idea.
Wow, yeah, we haven't really had a whole lot of snow to do that on the 4th of July in recent years.
No,
so.
I always say, because a lot of times we'll do a concert either on the mountain or in the park on 4th of July, and I just hope it snows on 4th of July because I want to see people.
See that again.
See their reaction.
Right, right.
You know, up there we used to do this catalog shoot.
Oh, yeah, for Rockin' Snow, right?
I don't remember the name of the company. From Europe.
Yeah, from England. Yep.
And for some reason, I had long hair and a scraggly beard, and for some reason, they didn't want to use me as a model. But I could transport the models around, and I could cook for them. But that was really interesting to watch, the logistics behind doing a big photo shoot like that, where they have all the catalog items that need to have photos taken. And to me, that was very interesting.
You might have been too tall for the sample sizes.
Right.
I know I was too short to do it. I was invited one year, and then they're like, "Oh wait, no, you need to be 5 inches tall."
I was like,
but anyway,
you don't like big, tall, ugly guys? Well, okay, I'm okay with that.
In the Crested Butte Real Estate Minute, I have a question for you. Do you own a Crested Butte condo? Or are you searching for a Crested Butte condo? If the answer to either of those questions is yes, I might suggest that you visit my website, crestedbutterealestateagent.com. And if you go there, go to the property tab and go to Crested Butte condos. And most of the condominium complexes here in Crested Butte have their own page there, with current listings, recent sales, map, information, etc. So it's a really useful place to start your condo search or to find out information about maybe some of your neighbors if you're already an owner of a Crested Butte condo. My name is Frank Consella, and again, that website is crestedbutterealestateagent.com. Please visit it and look up my contact information if you have any questions at all about condos or anything else in Crested Butte. So everyone knows you as Deadhead Ed, so why is that your nickname?
Well, Summit County, before I moved away, everyone called me Grateful Ed.
Grateful
Which makes sense,
okay.
You know, Deadhead, did lots of shows. Came down here and I ended up getting on KBUT. And they gave me my own show in spring of 2002. And I had to come up with a name for my show. I'm like, Grateful Ed, and I started going through all the names. Deadhead Ed, live from the 18th row, live from the 15th row. And somehow I just settled on Deadhead Ed, live from the 17th row. And that stuck. And then later that year, I started doing the bike races on the mountain. The pinnacle
races, sure.
And I started registering as Deadhead Ed. I started letting my persona, or my alter ego, take over my persona. I just started registering for everything as Deadhead Ed. Started introducing myself as Deadhead Ed, and it just sort of stuck.
Okay, all right.
Here we are 17 years later. It's right about now, actually, that I got my first radio show, sometime mid-April.
So it was all because of the KBUT show.
Yeah.
So, well, I guess let's start. I don't even know where to start, but... how many shows have you been to then? Grateful Dead?
I saw Grateful Dead 217 times.
217 times.
Now, since Jerry died, I don't have an exact count, but I've probably seen 60 or 70 post Jerry, the Dead, the other ones, Phil Lesh and Friends, Further, Dead and Company, all sorts of variations of the post-Jerry lineups.
Gotcha.
So I still like to be actively part of it as best I can.
So when did you start going to shows then?
This is actually kind of funny. I saw my first show in 1980, 9/6/80. And I had a good time at the show,
And how old were you then? Sorry, just saying that.
That's okay. No, I was 18.
Okay.
It was our freshman orientation at New England College in Henniker, New Hampshire.
Okay.
And one of the guys down the hall, Scotty Brown, he was roommates with Bernie Walker, who Scotty Brown and I moved to work at Irwin Lodge with Bernie Walker. We all moved to Breck together. He's running around, the Dead are playing, the Dead are playing. A bunch of us jumped into the back of an open Jeep and cruised 3 hours up to Lewiston, Maine. Blew off all the orientation events we were supposed to go to and saw the Grateful Dead.
So you were already a fan at that point?
Well, I liked the music, but I didn't know anything about the fans or the whole Deadhead thing.
Okay.
And then everyone in my dorm turned into Deadheads, and it was the weirdest thing for me. So I basically went the other way. Went just classic rock. Listened to classic rock, and that was Pink Floyd.
Okay.
Really, you asked about how Deadhead Ed came around. It's because Pink Floyd Ed doesn't rhyme.
So you're more of a Pink Floyd fan than
I always
a
was.
Grateful Dead?
I always was.
Okay.
And then my thing is, you couldn't see Pink Floyd 75 times a year. You couldn't travel around the country and see Pink Floyd.
Yeah,
You'd have to go to a different country.
Yeah,
you'd have to go to Europe.
You'd have to cruise around Europe. It'd be
wherever they were.
Uh-huh.
And, they didn't play consistently year after year after year.
Uh-huh.
And once I got on the bus, Grateful Dead bus, it was for me it was what I needed.
How so?
Sense of adventure.
Okay.
I went on tour. I bought a Toyota van and put 100,000 miles of Grateful Dead tour miles on it.
And were these shows all like summer at college or
no?
This was off.
No, this was This was 92, 91. I got the van.
Okay.
So 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94. Pretty much the end times of the Grateful Dead.
That's when you were going.
Time spent was when I was going, which is still better than not going. Might have been, in some people's minds, the band might not have been as good. Jerry was declining in health and whatever, but it was still good. Still good enough to go. And for a couple of years, I pretty much stopped. I would work, and then I'd tell people I'm leaving. I'll be gone for 4 weeks. If you want me to come back and continue to work, I will. If not, no big deal.
And was this restaurant work like you were doing in Irwin too?
Yeah, because the restaurant work really led to the ski bum life.
Sure. Yeah.
Never had to go to work before 3.
Yeah. Right.
Get to the ski area at 9 or 10 and ski till 2:30 and stroll into the restaurant, change clothes real fast, boom, go to work, eat, and go home and do it all again the next day.
Yeah.
Obviously,
it's a simple life for sure.
35 years later, it's not quite as simple. Things get a little more complicated.
Yeah. Well, so why the Grateful Dead, both for you and for fans of it? Why are there Deadheads versus other bands, I guess?
Well, everybody has their own taste. Mm-hmm. For me, I think it was all improvisation. Mm-hmm. I knew early on when I started listening to music, I knew live music was better than music recorded in the studio. And that Grateful Dead just goes hand in hand. Live music, that was their forte.
Right.
Every day was different. In the jam band world, I just went and saw 3 Government Mule shows, free show in Vail, and 2 days after the Enduro, right when my knees started hurting, of course.
Right.
And in 3 shows, there was only 1 song repeated. So it's always different.
Right.
You go see Pink Floyd, the same show, night after night after night after night after night.
Right, they're going to play Dark Side of the Moon, start to finish, or something.
But it's the same.
Right.
Same song, same order, same white show, same jokes, same comments.
Sure.
Whereas with Grateful Dead music and jam band music, it's different every night. And even though you could hear the same song over and over and over again, each live performance is a little different. And that's I don't know how they do that.
Right.
I don't know how you can be creative enough to play a song over the course of your career, say 300 times, and have it be different.
And be different, yeah.
Slightly different, 300 different times.
Yeah. That's funny you say that that live music is better, because I know, just for me at least, I like the 3.5 minute ripple and the 30-minute Fire on the Mountain. I can't.
I understand.
I can't do it.
Yeah, and I totally understand that. For some people, it just helps maybe just either turn off their brain and enjoy it, or maybe it turns on their brain in a different form.
Sure.
To
really get lost
in the music.
Yeah, and that's cool.
With Grateful Dead, there was always help to appreciate the music a little more.
Well, let's speaking of that then. So let's hear a couple of stories then from the road or from a show that you can remember.
I remember falling asleep once at a show, being so tired from driving
to get
from Philly to Long Island, which really isn't that long a drive, except that you've had drives and shows and drives and shows on top of before that.
Sure.
And I found myself just hit record. That's what I did. I recorded the shows, and then I found myself dozing off did the Europe 1990 tour.
Oh wow, that must have been amazing.
It was pretty fun. We had just lost Brent Midland, who was the keyboard player from '79 to July of '90.
Okay.
So it was a different band, but Bruce Hornsby played with them, so that kind of helped move things along a little bit, and that was kind of fun.
Was it harder to follow them in Europe because it's like Europe's not set up quite the same way?
No, it's actually easier because there's trains to every city.
Oh, you didn't need the car.
Like in Germany, for example, they closed the train stations after the last train is out. Boom, that station is closed until the first train the next morning. Mm-hmm. They kept them open all night and let the Deadheads just sleep on the floor in the train station.
Oh, wow.
So that was actually kind of fun.
So you've slept on a train station in Europe.
I did that even before Grateful Dead, because I was lucky enough in 1983 to do a semester in England.
Oh, nice.
And
cool.
In college. And we were sleeping in a train station in Berlin.
Nice.
And, got woken up by actual German shepherds with muzzles on.
Oh, no.
Barking in our faces, just inches away from our faces.
Yup.
Oh, yeah.
So you just mentioned that you like to record the shows. So there's a whole, I don't know, that's part of the whole Deadhead.
That's a whole nother.
So why do people collect all the shows and record all the shows and trade the tapes and all that stuff?
Everyone's different.
Yeah.
What did they play last night? Mm-hmm. What did they play the night before? On this date, if you listen to my radio show, I'll do a lot of this day in tapes or this week in tapes.
Right.
Tomorrow is the 30th, so I'll find something from April 30th or around
this date,
that time. And I think probably 1988, Frost Amphitheater, 1988 comes to mind. I don't really know. I think it got started when somebody pretty early on realized this was important and needed to be captured. And then slowly but surely through the late 70s and into the 80s, it became a hobby for people. In that time, there were some pioneers in live audio recording that really paved the way for people like me. I'd be like a third generation.
Okay.
The Grateful Dead. There was the first generation, the Jeff Travis, the Doug and Jim Odees, the Silbermans. All those people were like the first people to really bring high quality equipment into the shows, and they had to sneak it in. Okay. They had to sneak a Betamax. Remember the Beta VHF debate? Sure. They had to sneak Betamax machines in because that's how they were able to capture the digital signal. You captured on a little card in your thing. Back then, it was a full-on stereo component that they'd have to sneak in.
I was going to say, so this was never really allowed by the band? Or
no, it was allowed by the band, but they never told the venue.
Okay.
In 1984, the Halloween shows in 1984 was the first time, which actually Halloween Day 84 was when I moved to Colorado. Okay. Those 4 shows was the first time they had a tapers section where you got tapers tickets, set on your ticket taper, you're allowed to bring in equipment. They had a section for you behind the soundboard where you could set up, and they were the first band to do that.
Wow.
And right up to the end, so 11 years.
So what's the equipment? Are you just like holding a microphone in the air? Or are you trying to like...
Well, back then, that's in the early days, that's what it was like. You pretty much would just hold some microphones. When I saw that show in Lewiston, Maine, 1980, 9680, I went by this guy. He had a crutch. He had a pair of crutches, which is probably how he helped sneak his equipment in. Had a pair of crutches set up with microphones just on top of them, pointing towards the stage.
Sticking in different directions to catch it a little different way.
Yeah, just left and right, towards the PA. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. And as it turns out, that's the recording. That guy's recording is the one that we all have. Now that everything is digital, we all have.
Now it's easy to trade.
It's easy to transfer over the internet.
Right.
And so we all have them all. And that recording of the guy with the mics on the crutches is the recording that we all listened to from that day. And I had a friend in the dorm, Scotty Brown, who was a taper. And he kind of, I was intrigued by it, even though I didn't really like the music. I didn't know anything about it, really. I just knew everyone was a Deadhead. But I was intrigued by the taping aspect, and then it just sort of fell in my lap. The Europe 90 tour was the first time I set up microphones.
Nice. And when you're doing that, though, I mean, aren't you getting like the drunk guy behind you? He's like, I love this song.
Yeah. Yes, we are. So please stop it.
Right.
Yes, unfortunately, it picks up everything in the room.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
And do people go back and try to get some of that out?
I think you can a little bit today, but I don't do any post-processing.
Big editing. Okay.
No, because the equipment I have is very high quality and very accurate. So I don't really do much post work on them. I try to get it. People are like, it's close enough. I'll fix it in post. My theory is get it right at the show.
Right.
Then you don't have to fix it in post.
It's generally easier.
Yeah.
Get it right the first time, for sure. So you like listening to all these live shows so much. Do you play music? Do you play guitar or any other instruments?
I was telling somebody this today. I do production work. I'm a light guy. I'm a sound guy. I'm a stage hand. I'm a stage manager.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that unloads the truck and loads the truck and whatever needs to be done. I'm the only one in that profession who can't play music.
Have you tried, or just never even like?
I never. I mean, sure. In grammar school, we all tried the recorder.
Yeah.
No, I never. I just never. I have a good ear for it. I can hear what's going on, although I'm starting to lose a little bit of my hearing. I just never. Well, and not wearing earplugs.
Yeah.
I started wearing earplugs 15, 16, 17 years ago, and it's made a little difference. But for whatever reason, I just never learned how to play music.
Yeah.
I've sat at a drum kit and tried to play. It's so hard. Musicians, to me, are magicians. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
And that was the thing about Grateful Dead music was not every show was good. But boy, when it all came together, musical magic happened. And it wasn't every night, that's for sure. That's why you had to go every night, because you didn't know which
to get the lightning strike again.
Exactly, we don't know which 4 nights of the year was going to be the magic was going to happen. So you had to go to them all.
That's awesome. So you just mentioned you do events, you do the sound and all that. So when did you get into that? And was it because of your experience with the shows and recording?
Yes, and this is a funny story, or I think it's funny. Not everyone thinks I'm funny, but I think I'm funny. When I was a taper, I thought I was a professional. Here I am. I've got good equipment. I've got XLR cables. I'm a professional. In 2005, Center for the Arts had an ad in the paper looking for a tech director. I was the only one that applied. I got the job. Did it for 8.5 years. I quickly realized that as a taper, I wasn't even close to a professional. Tapers don't set up a stage for a band. Mic the drums and do everything that it takes to make the music happen. You just capture somebody else's work.
Right.
And then I started becoming the person doing the work. And at first it was a little tough. To be honest, the managerial responsibility is what was tough for me, because I didn't know what I was doing. I was in so over my head. I knew how to do the basic management stuff. I'd managed kitchens, but I didn't know what I was doing in the field. I didn't know what I was doing as far as lights and sound and movies and dance and plays and this and that.
Different. Yeah.
Well, 14 years later, I've learned a lot, and I love it.
Awesome.
I never. It's the weirdest thing. Working in restaurants my whole life, I never really looked forward to going to work. Now, when I work at the Center for the Arts and for Blackline Entertainment, Maddie Brown, I look forward to going to work because it's something I enjoy doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
At my age, I finally found something I like doing.
You finally found it. So how do you go about like doing a show? Like, I mean, you're starting days in advance, or just that morning, or like how long does it take to set up necessarily?
Ideally, the show's been scheduled for months.
Okay.
Then it gets announced. As we get closer to showtime, I'll use the Center for the Arts, for example. As we get closer to showtime, my immediate supervisor, Andrea, she will email us all the technical information. A stage plot that tells how you set up the stage. Drummer here, sure. Guitar player here, keyboard player here. And then the input list, the list of channels.
Okay.
8 for the drums, bass, guitar, and where they want them on the into the soundboard and stuff. And then that morning, we'll go in 2 hours before the band loads in, and we'll start setting up the stage, throw out the carpets, put out the monitors, get everything, all the equipment out there that the band needs. And then when the band shows up, we bring in their equipment and get it all into place.
Gotcha. And a lot of these bands, don't they have their own people too? Do you work with them?
Half the bands have their own people, and half the bands... Most of the time, they don't bring a light guy, LD, lighting director. Okay. And that's where I come in. I tend to be doing the lights lately at the Center for the Arts.
Okay, sure.
So I'll be the light guy, and we have Casey or Maddie for the sound guys. They will work directly with the sound guy that travels with the band.
And that guy he's like, look, the output for the keyboard.
Exactly. He's done this. He did it last night. He's going to do it tomorrow. Okay. He knows how to set up. And these days, all they do is they have a thumb drive with shows loaded on it, and they know what kind of soundboard we have. They just plug the thumb drive in. Boom, all the information goes in. Boom, gains are set. The channels are set. They're all labeled. And so it's a little easier these days.
Wow, very cool.
Except that sometimes it doesn't work. Like all technology.
Right, exactly.
Computers are supposed to make our lives easier.
Until they don't.
They don't.
Yep. Speaking from the center, have you gotten to take a tour of the new center and check it out?
Well,
and know what you're going to get into?
I haven't.
Okay.
It's funny. Last year at this time, we were scheduled to do one. And not everyone could make it, so we just ended up doing maintenance work that day instead. And then as the summer progressed and we got busy, just never had time. I have poked my head in there a few times. I've seen a lot of Natan's photos.
Gotcha.
He posted some today, actually. So, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
it's going to take us into 2019.
Well, especially from the lighting, the old stage, I mean, there's girders in your way. It was a nice building for what it was, but it'll be good to move on, I think.
This winter I had so much fun. We have what we call moving lights, where you do fog on the stage and you can move the lights around it. I've just been having so much fun playing with the lights. For me, it's just a toy, but it entertains the guests. So I get to play, they get to enjoy a good show, and it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, well, speaking of toys, I mean, I think you're about to probably go from, from an Atari to a Super Nintendo or something.
From 1987 to 2019.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be different when it's all designed for current.
There's going to be a big learning curve and a lot of training going on.
Yeah.
And I hope the old brain can still remember.
Oh, it will. It'll be good to teach an old dog new tricks or whatever, right? Which, speaking of dogs, so you got a little dog, Rita, somewhere wandering around my office.
Here.
But
she's right there. She's just laying down behind us.
Perfect. So
I had to bring her because she comes everywhere with me.
Yeah. Why a Chihuahua in Crested Butte? That Chihuahua seems like an odd dog choice for the snow that we get.
Well, and I'm very comfortable with myself. I'm a large man with a little dog. Rita just ended up in my lap. Had a girlfriend before in 2005 who had a Chihuahua. And he was the coolest little dog in the world. And then in 2008, I put my my cat Bertha to sleep after 19 years, 10 and a half months. And 3 weeks later, Rita appeared. John Penn from The Tobacconist had a friend in New Mexico who was dying from cancer, and last thing he did is bring his 4 dogs up to Crested Butte for John to find homes for him. And he saw Rita and immediately thought of me, brought her over. It was Friday evening. And I said, yeah, I'll take her. And little did I know how much my life was going to forever change.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, now I have a second dog, and my wife has 3 dogs. We have 5 little dogs. Yeah.
That's a whole pack.
It's a herd of little dogs.
For sure.
Took them on the road for the weekend. And
that's awesome.
That's interesting.
We'll start to wrap it up. Crested Butte is home for you, so why do you still choose to make Crested Butte your home?
I mean, you live here. You know why.
But the people listening might not know why.
I know. I want to let you know. Crested Butte is awesome. I love this place. When I first moved to Colorado, I didn't know what I was looking for. I was like, woohoo, ski the Summit Pass.
Right, yeah.
You know, and I had a great time, and it really helped me learn how to, be a ski bum and learn the ways of the Colorado mountain people. And then I had that situation happen where I decided to come down here. And even I worked at Irwin Lodge, and then we had to leave, and I ended up moving it to CB South and working at Paradise Cafe, and I still wasn't sure. I still didn't quite know what I was looking for. And then I bought my little trailer in 1997. What's today? 29th. 22 years ago today, I moved into my little trailer.
Happy home anniversary.
Yeah, and I slowly became part of the community. And once you become part of this community and you get that it is a community, I mean, we're all feeling really sad right now. The whole community is feeling sad. We just lost a brother and an elder statesman.
Yeah.
And you feel that. Back in Summit County, I never felt that sense of community where you live in a town where people care about each other and take care of each other and look out for each other. It turned out Crested Butte was what I was looking for. Unfortunately, I don't know how much longer I'll be able to stay here. Well, I bought my little trailer in 1997, and I more than got my money's worth out of it in 22 years.
Yeah.
No doubt there. But I don't own the land underneath me.
Right.
And I talked to my landlord last year, and I just asked her, so if there's going to be a change in my living situation, can I have plenty of notice?
Yeah, you would hope so.
She said, not anytime soon, but eventually. So in my mind, that's 3 to 5 years, and we're 1 year down.
Well, yeah, I guess you have to take that as it comes, if it comes. Hopefully,
my wife and I bought a house in Montrose.
Oh, okay. That'll be the next.
Yeah. And here's my funny joke. I think it's funny. Some people think it's funny. Some don't get it. I want to live in Crested Butte, and my wife, who I dearly love, wants to live in Montrose. So we'll compromise. I'll move to Montrose.
I thought you were going to say Gunnison. That's kind of halfway.
That's what I was thinking. We looked at a place, though, in Gunnison that would have been perfect for both of us. What everything she needed in a house, everything I needed in a house. And it was just too much for what we got in Montrose. And it's 6 miles this side of Montrose. So it's country living. It's not suburbia. Yeah. Okay. 3 acres.
Yeah.
Big house, big garage. So it's not horrible.
No, it's
nice. Not, Crested Butte where my heart will always be. But I did the drive this morning, hour and 41 minutes. No? If I leave at 7, I could still be on first chair.
You can still be in first chair. There you go.
I'll still boot pack.
Yeah, there you go.
Still be a Vail employee.
There you go. Anything else that I should have asked that I didn't?
I don't know. I think you covered things pretty thoroughly.
Well, I actually wrote one down that I didn't ask. So why is it live from the 17th row? What's the 17th row?
Well, 17th row, it sounded the best.
Okay.
And I did live from the 10th row, 11th row, 12th row, 18th row. Also, originally, the 17th row was the front row of the Tapers section at Red Rocks.
Okay.
But when they rebuilt that soundboard area, it became the 16th row. So live from the 16th row just didn't sound quite right, like live from the 17th row.
So it'll stay 17th. Okay.
Tune in Tuesdays, 10 to noon.
There you go.
KBUT.org.
There you go. KBUT Tuesdays. live from the 17th row. And final question, who else should I interview?
I don't know who you've already interviewed, but, one of my favorite ski buddies, and I've done 3 Enduros with, and I know he's one of your ski buddies, but Ethan Passon.
He's been on the list for sure. Yeah, I didn't catch him before I went up to Washington this year. But
she's one of my Crested Butte ski idols for sure, Johnny Biggers.
I have interviewed Johnny, and that was a really good one to hear.
You've done Pat O'Neill, probably.
I've done Pat O'Neill.
See, I'm hitting all the all-stars there.
All the low-hanging fruit, which I did too.
Well, God, look at our ski packs. Ryan Sutton. Don't know if you know him, but that guy is an amazing skier.
Amazing biker, too.
Yes, I know. He does that enduro downhill thing where he does many laps.
Oh, he was a World Cup downhill. I don't know, 10 years ago.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, all right, Ethan and Sutton.
There Perfect. You go.
All right. Well, thanks so much for chatting with me today. I really appreciate it. And see you out there.
Thanks for listening to the Crested Butte is Home podcast with me, Frank Consella. If you've missed any episodes, you can go to crestedbutteshome.com, and they are all available there as well as on your favorite podcast player. Also, if you enjoy this show, I would love it if you share the show with your friends, anyone who loves Crested Butte. One thing I've really discovered doing this show is it's kind of reaffirmed how special Crested Butte is, and I think other people might appreciate that as well if they listen to the podcast. So appreciate that. And one last thing, my real estate website is crestedbutterealestateagent.com. So if you have any questions about Crested Butte or Gunnison Real Estate, please give me a shout by going there and checking out my contact information. I'll see you again in 2 weeks.